What if the most effective propaganda wasn't some old school poster or a news broadcast, but a friendly face that just pops up in your social media feed? Today, we're going to jump right into some really brilliant and honestly kind of unsettling research from Dr. Sanjana Heditua. We're going to deconstruct a super sophisticated Chinese influence operation in Sri Lanka, one that uses the powerful illusion of friendship to completely reshape reality. All right, let's kick this off with a number that should really make you pause. A few, and I mean just a few, influencer-style accounts are getting over 12 times the engagement of a massive official state media news page. And get this, they're doing it with way, way fewer posts. And that is the big mystery we're unpacking today. This isn't just about getting more likes online. No, this is a highly strategic campaign. It's designed to reshape how people see the world, to build influence, and to quietly, shift the geopolitical balance. So let's get into the nuts and bolts of how they're pulling it off. Okay, first things first, we have to wrap our heads around just how huge this engagement gap really is. The numbers you're about to see are, frankly, shocking, and they show this was a meticulously planned strategy, not just some lucky break with the algorithm. So just look at the story this chart tells. It's incredible. On the left, with only 67 posts, these influencer personas are averaging over 4,000 interactions, likes, comments, shares. And then on the right, the official state media page posts over 400 times to get an average of just 52. This isn't about just making slightly better content. It's about playing a completely different and way more effective game. So how in the world do they do it? Well, it all comes down to this really powerful three-part strategy that we're going to call the friendship formula. And it's all about creating this feeling of personal connection and trust. And this slide right here illustrates the core tactic perfectly. Official state media, it's exactly what you'd think. It's formal, it's dry, it's just relentless posting. But the influencer personas, they're talking about food and fashion and family. They don't feel like a state mouthpiece. They feel like a friend you follow online. Which brings us to the first ingredient, synthetic intimacy. By using flawless local slang and these really warm family-like terms like our big sister, the accounts build what psychologists call a parasocial relationship. And all that means is it's a one-sided bond where you, the follower, feel like you genuinely know this person, even though they have absolutely no idea who you are. This feeling of friendship is the key that unlocks the door, and it makes you lower your guard for whatever messages come next. The second ingredient is what we can call the art of trivial debate. The accounts ask these simple, fun, politically harmless questions, like these. And it just generates a firestorm of engagement. It's actually a classic move of social control. Keep the audience busy and entertained with fun little distractions. Why? Well, because while everyone's passionately arguing about haircuts, the really big, complex issues are just happening off-screen with nobody watching. It's a brilliant way to train the algorithm and manage public attention at the same time. And the final piece of this formula is the external validator. This is a brilliant move. The campaign uses a beloved Sri Lankan actress, Shanudri Priyasad. They're leveraging the trust her 1.3 million followers already have in her to completely bypass their natural skepticism. The message is no longer, hey, China says it's great. It's an authentic, trusted stamp of approval from one of their own. So they've built this massive audience, and they've earned their trust. But what are they actually saying to them? Let's check out their narrative playbook, the specific stories they tell over and over and over again. First up is what the research calls the civilizational mirror. This frame is all about positioning China as a deep historical sibling to Sri Lanka, not some foreign power. A perfect example is a post comparing the spiritual significance of the Forbidden City to Sri Lanka's very own Temple of the Tooth. It creates this powerful feeling of a shared, ancient soul. Next, we have the techno-pastoral frame. This presents a vision of China that's a beautiful paradox, right? It's a place with flying cars and humanoid robots that also has these pristine wetlands and golden autumn leaves. This story is a direct but subtle counter to any news you might hear about industrial pollution. It suggests China has somehow magically solved the puzzle of development without any environmental cost. And finally, there's the benevolent provider. Instead of talking about things like debt or geopolitics, the posts highlight how China is helping solve real Sri Lankan problems, like funding research into a chronic kidney disease that's affecting the country.
This masterfully shifts the whole conversation away from strategic interests and puts it right onto tangible, life-saving partnership.
All right, here's a crucial point. This campaign isn't just about what these accounts say. You could argue that what they don't say is even more important. The calculated discipline in their silences. That's what reveals the true strategic depth here.
Let's take Xinjiang. In this carefully curated reality, it's a paradise of snowy parks and rich cotton fields. So what's been completely surgically removed from the picture? Any and all mention of the international reporting on forced labor, re-education camps, or the repression of the Uyghur people. In this feed, it's simply a beautiful place to visit. End of story.
But the most audacious erasure, the real masterstroke of the whole campaign, is what they do to India. While India's own diplomatic feeds are full of its deep developmental work in Sri Lanka, on these Chinese-run accounts, the neighboring superpower is reduced to little more than colorful festivals. Its profound strategic and economic role in the country is just rendered completely invisible to millions of followers.
Okay, so we've seen the friendly tactics and the calculated silences. It all leads to the big question: what is the end game? What's the ultimate geopolitical goal of all this? Well, as Dr. Hatutua puts it, this is industrial-grade propaganda. And you can see the industrial part right in the data. The official CGTN page posts exactly 8 times a day, at the same 2-hour intervals, 7 days a week, with what the research calls military precision. This isn't journalism. It is a disciplined, highly resourced information assembly line.
So here it is, the entire playbook, laid out in 4 simple steps. Step 1. Build a huge, trusting audience using friendly faces and fun, trivial content. Step 2. Shape the narrative with those carefully built stories of kinship, progress, and kindness. Step 3. Control the information people see by surgically removing inconvenient truths and, importantly, key rivals from the picture. And finally, Step 4. Achieve the goal, to displace those rivals and become the indispensable, most loved partner in the minds of the people.
And all of this leaves us with a pretty critical question. This incredibly effective model, it's not just happening in Sri Lanka. So as we're all scrolling through our own feeds, laughing at memes and liking photos from creators we feel like we know, it's worth asking ourselves, in this world full of digital friends, who is really shaping our reality?